One day, while a fisherman named Syracuse was out at sea, a young woman got caught in his nets. The stranger was unconscious, so the man, thinking she had swallowed water, gave her artificial respiration. When she came to, the girl couldn't remember her name, nor could she tell the fisherman why she had ended up in the water so far from the nearest shore. Syracuse took his shivering guest into the cabin and said he would take her to the hospital as soon as they reached land. But for some reason, the girl was terrified and began to beg him not to do that. Then the hero reassured her, saying that he knew a place where no one would find her. He steers the boat into a bay where his mother's old house stood, a place where she had lived her whole life in seclusion, far from prying eyes. At home, the man gently wraps the stranger in a blanket and hands her a sandwich, then heads into town himself. He needs to pick up his daughter Annie from his ex-wife Maura and take her to a scheduled procedure at the clinic. This has long been part of his weekly routine since the girl suffers from kidney failure. During dialysis, Syracuse, looking thoughtful, tells his daughter a story about a fisherman who caught a mysterious woman in his nets, to which the girl replies that it must be a mermaid or a siren. After the procedure, the clinic gives Annie an electric wheelchair, and then the protagonist returns the girl to her mother and her new partner, Alex. In the morning, Syracuse visits the stranger and, on the way to the pier, tells her a little about his parents. The young woman persuades the man to take her fishing with him and asks him to call her Ondine, which means a woman who came out of the water. At first, things weren't going very well, but as soon as Ondine started singing, Syracuse's traps miraculously filled with lobsters. Amazed by such unprecedented success, the fisherman throws one full trap back into the sea, saving the lobsters for a rainy day, and takes the rest to sell. He asks Ondine to share the profits with him, but the girl absolutely refuses to see other people and runs back into the house. Pleased with his big catch, the hero buys Ondine a dress as a token of gratitude, and when the shopkeeper is distracted, he also steals some underwear and tights as well. Later, he picks Annie up from school and on the way home, continues his story about the fisherman, telling her about the woman's miraculous singing. "Just like a siren," the girl says. And after Syracuse drops her off near the house, she decides to follow him, suspecting that her father's story might actually be true. Unaware of anything, Syracuse returns to Ondine and gives her the gift. The girl thanks him and he asks how long she plans to stay at his house. Ondine says that it depends entirely on him, and then the hero replies that she can stay here as long as she wants. Syracuse gets behind the wheel and drives away, not noticing Annie watching him from her hiding place. That same day, the girl borrows books about mermaids from the library to get as much information as possible. Meanwhile, Syracuse goes to church to confess to stealing women's clothing. Seeing the confusion on the priest's face, he clarifies that the clothes were meant for the woman he pulled out of the water, and he only stole them because he was embarrassed to buy them. After listening, the priest invites the fisherman to come to mass, but he refuses. The next day, Annie goes alone to her grandmother's house, where she meets Ondine. "Curiouser and curiouser," she says. Then she asks the stranger if she has magical powers and if she can heal her. Ondine avoids answering, but Annie tells her that there's no point in hiding, since she knows she's a mermaid. So Ondine decides to play along with the girl and strikes up a friendly conversation. Meanwhile, Syracuse visits the library to borrow books about mermaids, but finds out that his daughter has all of them. Later, several children surround Annie and ask her to let them ride in her wheelchair. One girl pushes the wheelchair into the water, causing it to break down, and Annie has to push it herself to Alex for repairs. Syracuse plans to go out to sea again and invites Ondine to join him, noting that she is wearing the dress he gave her. At his request, the girl takes the helm, but soon gets frightened by a passing motorboat and hides, leaving her foot on the steering wheel. The fisherman smiles and remarks that you can't steer a ship like that, and then the woman begins to sing. The trawler's nets quickly fill with fish, which leaves Syracuse both delighted and bewildered. After all, he caught salmon, even though he didn't use special nets for them. Soon a boat with 2 inspectors approaches them. The men come aboard and inspect the vessel. Seeing the huge amount of fish, they begin to suspect the fishermen of using illegal fishing methods and look into the hold, where, to their surprise, they find Ondine hiding. She explains to them exactly how Syracuse caught the fish, and although the inspectors are skeptical of her words, they still decide to leave the vessel. After they left, the hero asked the girl how she was feeling and then suggested that she help him sell the fish. In his opinion, Ondine no longer has any reason to be afraid of being seen, since the inspectors already have. A little while later, their boat docks at the shore. Syracuse sells the fish and plans to use the money he earned to buy Ondine another gift. But this time, the girl wants to choose it herself. In the city, they meet Annie and together head to a clothing store. The news that the drunkard Syracuse had pulled a girl out of the sea quickly spread through the small town, and curious locals immediately gathered at the shop window to gawk at the beautiful stranger. The next day, Annie comes to her grandmother's house and has a pleasant conversation with Ondine, learning that the girl doesn't know how to swim. The heroine offers to help her. Meanwhile, Syracuse visits Mora to tell her that he wants to keep his daughter with him for the whole day. He plans to go to the festival at the pier with her and Ondine. Meanwhile, Ondine is teaching the girl to swim when she suddenly bumps into some object covered in seaweed. Relying on legends, Annie explains to Ondine that this must be her mermaid clothing. If she wants to stay on land for 7 years, she needs to bury it. The woman decides to do exactly that. Later, Syracuse, Annie, and Ondine go out on a boat to watch the festival. Along the way, the girl tells her father everything she knows about mermaids and keeps pestering the woman, insisting that she is one of them. Ondine denies everything. Then, to test her, Annie deliberately falls into the water. Without hesitation, the heroine dives in after her and brings her back to the boat, and the girl tells her father that Ondine can breathe underwater. Syracuse immediately took his daughter to her mother, but Mora started scolding him for being careless. After that, Syracuse took Ondine home and shared his sad story with her. He told her how 2 years ago, when he and Mora were both alcoholics, he decided to quit drinking for Annie's sake. His wife did not like this initiative at all, and she decided to kick him out. Ondine asks why he didn't stay with Annie then, and learns that Child Protective Services decided it would be better for the girl to stay with her mother. After such an honest conversation, Syracuse unexpectedly kisses the girl and spends the night with her. The next day, the fisherman visits the church again to confess and tell the priest that Ondine has brought him great luck. It seems he has feelings for her, and that's why he's afraid of losing her. After leaving the church, Syracuse runs into a strange man who starts asking him about Ondine. However, the hero doesn't answer and quickly gets into his car and drives away. After another procedure at the clinic, Syracuse drives Annie home. However, neither Mora nor Alex were there. Then Annie suggests looking for them at the bar. At that very moment, the man who had been asking about Ondine earlier in the day drove up to the fisherman's house, but the woman noticed his approach in time and hid in the greenhouse. At the bar, Syracuse finds Mora and Alex already drunk, and giving in to his daughter's persuasion, leaves her with them while he returns to Ondine. Not finding her at home, the man goes out searching and soon finds the woman under a small bridge. Feeling afraid, she tells him that the mysterious man was looking for her, so she hid. In response, Syracuse suggests she make a wish for that man to disappear, since, according to legend, mermaids can grant wishes. To this, Ondine replies that she would like Annie to be healthy. After spending time at the bar, a drunken Mora gets behind the wheel to drive the family home. However, another car suddenly crashes into them, and Alex dies on the spot. A little later, Syracuse and Ondine are driving along the same road, and, noticing the accident as well as a familiar car, the anxious hero rushes to the ambulance, where he sees the injured Annie. The girl is immediately taken to the hospital, where she undergoes a kidney transplant operation using Alex's kidney, since their tissues turned out to be compatible. The perpetrator of the accident, the same man who had been pursuing Ondine, is also brought there. Seeing her in the corridor, he shouts that he will find her, and then Ondine herself initiates a conversation with him. The man notes that she is speaking to him in a different language and asks her to come back home. However, the heroine refuses, leaving him with nothing. Annie recovered well from the surgery and is quickly getting better, and Syracuse begins to believe that this is how Ondine's wish came true. A little while later, several townspeople gather at the pier to say goodbye to Alex and scatter his ashes over the water. Depressed by the loss, Mora tells Syracuse that he can take custody of Annie, but on one condition, that he gets rid of that sea woman. Then Mora suggests the hero have a drink and, unable to resist the temptation, he breaks his 2-year sobriety from alcohol. After getting thoroughly drunk, Syracuse leaves the bar at night and goes to Ondine to tell her about his decision to return her to the sea. As soon as dawn breaks, he takes her to the lighthouse and leaves her there, assuring her that she will be safe here. Noticing that he is trying to sail away without her, the girl runs to the boat, and then Syracuse tells her that their relationship is impossible because she is not human. Late at night, Syracuse brings Annie to his house, and the girl asks him about Ondine, to which he replies that she had to leave on sea business. Annie, however, says that she will come back since she left something important in this house. In the morning, Annie was flipping through TV channels and stopped at a song that Syracuse immediately recognized. It was the very song that Ondine sang while they were fishing. Suddenly, he realizes that he made a mistake and hurries back to the lighthouse as quickly as possible. He doesn't find her right away because the girl has swum to the other shore. Wrapped in his jacket, Ondine finally admits that she is not a mermaid at all. She is an escaped convict from Romania who, together with her husband named Vladik, was smuggling drugs in a backpack. When their boat was surrounded by the police, he pushed her into the water. She swam as long as she had the strength, and then she started to drown. That's when Syracuse saved her. The astonished fisherman asks her real name and learns that her name is Joan. In the evening, they return home, where Vladik and another man are already waiting for them. He wanted to get his goods back, so he started a fight with Syracuse. Fearing for his life, Joan decides to show the place where she hid the drugs, but after digging up the soil in the greenhouse, she finds nothing. It turned out that Annie had moved the seaweed-covered item to the lobster trap, thinking it was the mermaid's clothes. Vladik and his partner head to the water, and then Joan remembers that he can't swim. Summoning her courage, she pushes him into the water and Vladik drowns. A little while later, the police arrest Joan. A few days later, Syracuse talks to the priest, who tells him that Joan needs to file documents with the department to obtain citizenship, otherwise she will be deported. To this, Syracuse offers an alternative. He'll simply marry her. The film ends with the fisherman keeping his word and marrying Joan, creating a new family together with her and Annie. And here you'll find even more stories waiting for you. Subscribe because it's always interesting with us. See you all soon.